Chile is a country with a very unusual shape, a narrow strip stretching along the west coast of South America. About 400 years ago, Magellan left Spain to find a passage through the Americas. He discovered the Strait of Magellan and was the first European to see what is now Chile. Later, a Spanish expedition under Pizarro crossed the Isthmus of Panama and sailed down the coast to settle in Peru. A smaller party continued southwards, explored and settled, founding Chile's capital of today, the city of Santiago. In 1810, Chile rebelled against Spain and became an independent nation. Then immigration from Europe increased. People came from England, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, Italy and other countries, adding to the earlier Spaniards and the native Indians. They settled in central Chile, in the fertile valleys between the sea and the Andes Mountains. The Andes provide some wonderful scenery, but they act as a great barrier which strongly affects Chile's climate and cuts her off from her neighbor countries to the east. Until recently, the only way to cross this barrier was on foot or on horseback. But now there is a railway, the famous Trans-Andean Railway, linking Chile with Argentina. Descending from the barren mountains, the trains reach the fertile valleys and arrive at Santiago, a modern city of 1 million people and the center of government. Santiago's business district is like that of large cities all over the world. It has tall buildings and streets crowded with workers and shoppers. Most buildings, like these, are of what is called the colonial style of architecture. But among them are some very modern structures, such as the School of Law of the University of Chile. These are the offices of the Chilean government. Chile's president resides in this fine old colonial building. This statue was erected to honor one of Chile's great patriots, General Bernardo O'Higgins, the son of an early immigrant from Ireland. He became a leader in the revolution which made Chile independent. A main street is named after this national hero. Chile's police are called carabineros. They are directly under the control of the federal government and keep order in all parts of the country. The hand signals of a carabiniero directing traffic are strange to us, but once you learn their meaning, there's never any doubt about the officer's intentions. Public transport in Santiago carries heavy loads at busy times. But at midday, a strange thing happens. The streets suddenly become empty. The crowds were going home for lunch. All shops and offices closed down from noon until about 2:30 for the siesta. Some of the laborers and their families live in houses like these. But Chile has a social security service to assist in cases of unemployment, sickness, and old age, and free primary education compulsory for 6 years. Office workers usually live in flats, though many can afford homes in Santiago's fine residential districts. These mansions belong to the very wealthy Chileans, some of them descendants of the first immigrants from Europe. A former Chilean president lives here. This is his grandson. His family came from northern Italy many generations ago. Factories in Santiago produce such goods as shoes, glass, textiles, and electrical appliances. Chile's steel mills supply most of her industrial needs, but very little heavy machinery is made in South America. Chile relies on North America or Europe for such equipment as this electrical crane, which was imported from Germany. The United States supplies aircraft and most of Chile's cars, although smaller European makes are popular because of their economy. Chilean railways are considered the best in South America, and some of the routes are electrified. Owing to the high cost of imported mechanical equipment, much use is made of manpower, and yokes of oxen are sometimes used as shunting engines. The beautiful city of polo is a popular sport with the wealthy Chileans. These include the few hundred families that have a powerful influence over the commerce and agriculture of the country. Chile is greatly dependent on her agriculture, but it is only in central Chile that the climate is particularly good for farming. In the northern part of this fertile green zone, the climate is rather dry, and the land has to be irrigated with water from the Andes. The chief crop is wheat, but a great deal of fruit is grown, and there are large vineyards producing grapes for wine. The early settlers were given large tracts of land, which have been handed down to the present generation. These huge farm estates are called haciendas. The workers live on the estates and are given houses, food, and a little pay. This worker is digging potatoes, which were first found in South America. Here, clover is being harvested. Cattle are tended by Chilean cowboys, who are amongst the best riders in the world. In the southern part of the central zone, the climate is quite different. Owing to the heavier rainfall, there are large tracts of dense forest, and fires are deliberately started to clear the land for raising crops. At the end of this bridge is a tiny wooden house. It is a shrine, marking the spot where a Chilean died. There are many such shrines in the Chilean countryside. Here in south-central Chile, there are no large hacienda estates. The farms are small, and many peasant farmers are very poor. Their small plots of ground barely earning them a living. Oxen are used for working in the fields and for drawing carts. Most of these Chileans are descendants of the early Spaniards, who settled here and intermarried with the native Indians. For many years, the Araucanian Indians of Chile fought fiercely against the early colonists, but today only a few thousand of them are left. They still try to remain separate from the other Chileans and keep their customs and dress. One of the largest cities in south-central Chile is Valdivia. Like other towns in this region, it has a strangely European appearance, for many of the names seen are German. The barges on the river and the houses along the bank look like those of Germany. The people who live here are descended from a large group of Germans who came to Chile over a century ago. They were invited to help settle this frontier area, but they did not mix readily with the Chileans of other ancestry, such as the early Spaniards or Indians. Even today, many people here seem more German than Chilean. Many of the German immigrants became farmers. They helped drive the Indians from this fertile soil, cleared the forest, and today their descendants have some of the best farmland in Chile. This farmer's family has never intermarried with any Chileans not of German descent. These names are those of political candidates. Chile is a republic with regular government elections. On election day, no one is allowed to congregate or even to sit near the polling stations. This regulation is intended to ensure that no one influences another's vote. This gentleman is a candidate for senator. Other candidates have German names. You would expect to find them only in this limited area. So far, we've seen how people live in the central region, where there is farming and industry. 9/10 of Chile's people live there. The northern and southern parts have small populations because of geographical difficulties. The coast of southern Chile is a maze of channels and bays, with thousands of islands covered with dense forest. There are many small settlements amongst these islands, which can be reached only by boat. The people do some lumbering, a little farming, and some fishing, but there are so few of them that none of these occupations are of much importance to Chile. In this island region, the sun is usually hidden by cloud, and there is much rain and fog. Far to the south, in this miserable climate, live some of Chile's most unusual people, the Alakaluf Indians, who spend much of their lives in dugout canoes. Here, long before the coming of the Europeans, their way of life has changed but little. These Indians are rapidly dying out, and only a few hundred are left. At the extreme southern end of Chile is the Strait of Magellan, long feared by sailors for its frequent storms. At the eastern end of the strait, the mountains level off to a flat, grassy plain. Here, lonely shepherds tend flocks of sheep, whose meat, hides and wool are shipped to central Chile, North America and Europe. Halfway between the Atlantic and Pacific, on the Strait of Magellan, is the southernmost city in the world, Punta Arenas. 35,000 Chileans live here, cut off from the rest of the country except by sea. The work of many of them is connected with the shipping that passes through the strait. Although the southern tip of Chile is a region of wet and cold, northern Chile is the opposite. It has the driest desert in the world. In this wasteland lies the great mineral wealth of the country. Beds of nitrate ore are broken up and the nitrate extracted. Nitrate is widely used for making fertilizer and explosives. Near the nitrate beds is the world's largest known deposit of copper ore. The mining, refining and export of copper is Chile's largest source of wealth. Thousands of workers live in the desert to work for the nitrate and mining companies, which have provided houses, hospitals, schools and other facilities. The nitrate and copper are hauled to the sea coast and exported through ports like these. The sale of these minerals enables Chile to buy the manufactured products of other nations, which Chileans cannot make for themselves. Now we have seen how the people of Chile live. There are the remote Indians of the southern islands, the isolated people of the Strait, the workers of the northern desert. But by far the largest number of Chileans live in the central region. The cultures of many countries and races have combined to form one of the most important nations of South America.